Ah yes, the PS2, Sony's most popular and highest selling console of all time with over 150 million units sold worldwide. Since its release in 2000, the earliest examples of these consoles are reaching 24 years of age. Well, with age comes issues, especially with CD-based consoles like the PS2. I picked up this white Slim model for about $50 on eBay, and it was sold for parts or repair. So I wasn't too confident that it would be in perfect running condition. And once it arrived in my hands, I could see that it was in a pretty sorry state. Disregarding the rather dirty exterior, one of the main issues I immediately noticed is that the disc door doesn't stay closed. Well, okay, that shouldn't be too big of an issue to resolve. The bigger question is whether we can play any games. And well, surprisingly, the console does turn on. And with a game inside, we even get the PS2 logo to show. But beyond that, it just hangs up and the game doesn't actually play. I'm assuming that the laser pickup is a bit dirty, but we won't know until we tear this thing apart. We're going to give this PS2 the star treatment with a thorough and satisfying deep clean, restoring it to near new condition. I'll guide you through cleaning some of the dirtiest components, which are often overlooked because people don't really know how to service them properly. But don't worry, I'll show you how I do it. So sit back, relax, and let's give this neglected PS2 a second lease on life. Alright, so first things first, we gotta completely tear down this PS2 all the way to the motherboard so we can service and restore not only the disk drive assembly, but also give the entire shell a deep clean, as well as various other components inside, such as the cooling fan. I have a feeling it's not gonna be pretty in there. Now, these Slim PS2s are actually really straightforward to take apart. I do prefer working on these a whole lot more than the fat PS2 models, which are quite a bit more complex. Now, as a bit of good news, the warranty sticker is still intact, meaning likely no one was inside of this console. So I'm gonna try and remove it in one piece with some heat so that we can reapply it once we're all done to give it that factory fresh look. Now, of course, for those familiar with how I do things around here, you know I like to stay organized, and tools like this magnetic mat from iFixit, which keep all my screws secure and in place, really help me do just that. iFixit is the sponsor of today's video, but more on them a bit later. So with the top shell off, we can get a better idea of what we're working with here, and as expected, it's pretty grimy. There's just a ton of buildup around the disk drive assembly, so we're definitely going to need to give it a thorough cleaning and service it with some fresh grease. And the area around the fan is of course also caked with dirt and debris, so our work is definitely cut out for us. Anyway, let's continue to disassemble the console. Now, to remove the RF shielding, just gently pry up with a spudger as it's held in place by the GPU's thermal pad. And the motherboard, while dusty, is actually in pretty good condition, so this just needs a light cleaning. But we will be replacing that old, worn out thermal pad with a brand new one, as well as the clock battery. The motherboard just requires a light dusting, which I'm going to be doing with an ESD safe brush. Moving back over to the top shell, I'm going to remove all the small components and the latch mechanism for the disc door, because that'll definitely need to be cleaned and lubricated since it was getting stuck and not functioning properly. Once the top and bottom shells are completely disassembled, I'm going to go ahead and clean them in the kitchen sink with just some soap, warm water, and a bit of elbow grease. Alright, as I'm giving the shell a cleaning, now would be a great time to talk to you about today's sponsor, iFixit. If you've been watching my channel over the years, you probably noticed that I've been using the same trusty screwdriver set since the beginning. This is the iFixit ProTech Toolkit. It's just one of the many iFixit products that I rely on for all my console repairs and mods. iFixit offers an array of tools that make my job just a whole lot easier. Now, iFixit has just released some amazing new console-specific toolkits. Whether you need tools for maintaining your Nintendo Switch, Xbox, or even the Steam Deck, these kits are perfect for the job. They even have a dedicated PlayStation toolkit, which, if you're a huge PS fan like I am, will help you maintain these consoles for years to come. Each set is expertly assembled for gamers, featuring a precision driver with specific bits for the console, tweezers, spudgers, and more. Don't let tech issues or mods slow you down. The iFixit Game Console toolkits ensure that you're always ready to game on. These tailored kits are available now, so be sure to check them out on the iFixit website. And for all your electronic repair needs, definitely check out iFixit using the link in the description below. And again, a huge thank you to iFixit for sponsoring this video. Alright, so back to the kitchen sink. Some of these stains were so embedded in the shell that I actually had to use a different brush with stiffer bristles to really get them out, and thankfully it worked out pretty well. So if you run into some stubborn stains, a tougher bristled brush may be required. Okay, with the shells all cleaned, let's set them aside for now to dry while we begin working on the disk drive assembly. And man, does it need a lot of work. So to start off, let's give the entire assembly a once over with some IPA and Q-tips to clean off some of the major dust bunnies. Yeah, this thing is pretty filthy, and not only is the dirt affecting the smooth operation of the assembly, but so is the aged grease, which likely lost some of its lubricating properties over the years. To give the assembly a proper cleaning, we'll definitely need to further disassemble it. On disc-based consoles like the PS2, I always recommend giving the optical drive assembly a thorough cleaning and service to ensure proper operation. A lot of the techniques I'm showing you here can be carried over to other CD assemblies for different consoles. Now, these plastic tabs here are used to help secure the laser pickup guide rail, so make sure you don't lose them as they are very easily misplaced. Now here's a technique that I use to thoroughly clean the sled on the laser pickup. What you need to do is take a lint-free tissue like these Kimtech wipes and roll it like so. Then I soak it in isopropyl alcohol. I then feed it through the sled as shown, and then move it back and forth to remove all the hard to reach dirt and debris. Here you can see all the dirt that I removed from the sled. With it all clean, the laser pickup should be able to slide smoothly along the guide rail. And of course, we'll give the laser itself a clean with a Q-tip and some IPA. Now when doing this, you need to be very delicate and not push down heavily on the laser. This just requires gentle swipes across the laser lens to remove any debris. This is an extremely sensitive and delicate part of the laser assembly, so definitely be extremely gentle. Now we can go ahead and start to reassemble the DVD drive assembly. Okay, with the drive fully assembled, now it's time to add grease to all the critical moving parts. I'll be using this special synthetic polyolefin grease, which is designed to be compatible with plastic components. And to apply it to all the various contact points, I'll be using a wooden toothpick. To evenly spread the grease, move the sled mechanism up and down. This will ensure that all the contact points are evenly coated. Okay, our DVD drive assembly is cleaned, greased, and ready for years of smooth operation. Now let's move our attention to the fan. This thing is caked in years of dust, but I'll show you how to restore it to basically brand new. First thing we need to do is pry off the shroud, which is just held in place with 3 tabs. Once removed, I initially attempted to remove as much dust as I could with a toothbrush, but it proved to be futile. To really get the fan clean, we need to remove the fan rotor. By peeling away the rear sticker, we gain access to the fan's shaft, which is held in place by a split washer retainer. These things can fly off into oblivion if not carefully removed, and will most likely be lost forever, so definitely be careful. Anyway, now we can remove the fan rotor itself, making sure not to lose the tensioning spring underneath. Now, taking it over to the sink, we can have at it with some warm water and soap to get it thoroughly clean. Once that's done, we can also clean the fan housing by giving it a wipe down before reinstalling the rotor. Now to keep the fan running smoothly and silent, I'm going to apply a small amount of this racer oil that I generally use for servicing cassette decks. I apply just a single drop to the bearings as well as the rotor shaft. Now we can begin to reassemble the fan. Again, be extremely careful when reinstalling the split washer retainer. And this is what it should look like fully assembled. We'll also apply a small amount of oil to the lower bearing for good measure. Awesome, things are going pretty smoothly. Now we can start to reassemble the console. So before we reinstall the RF shielding with the integrated heatsink, we need to cut a new thermal pad. I have this 0.5mm thickness thermal material, and I'm going to use the original pad as a template to cut out the correct size. And before I apply it to the GPU, I'll give it a quick wipe down with some IPA. And don't forget to remove the plastic protective film before installing the heatsink. And of course, we'll put in a brand new CR2032 battery for the clock. Now we can go ahead and continue with reassembly. Now, while it's not absolutely necessary, I'm going to go ahead and apply some grease to the contact points on the disc door latch mechanism to ensure that it operates smoothly. Now, all we need to do is button it all up. And there we have it, folks, a completely and thoroughly restored PS2 Slim. Alright, with the PS2 reassembled and looking just fantastic, let's see if we resolved all of its issues. Firstly, the disc door opens smoothly, and it stays shut, so that problem is fixed. Now the more important question is whether it loads games. And yes, it does. It looks like all it needed was a thorough cleaning of the laser pickup. With the DVD drive assembly fully serviced, we can be confident it'll provide years of smooth operation. So there you have it, folks, a fully restored and serviced PS2. I really do hope this video gave you some valuable tips and tricks on restoring these classic consoles, and if your PS2 is giving you trouble, maybe now you can fix it yourself. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd really appreciate you hitting that like button. Also, check out this video recommended on screen for some mod videos that I'm sure you'll enjoy. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I'll catch you again next time.